How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of Trench Talk. I'm here with my new old co host, Christian Royston, giving us a little no shave November uh, updated look on him.
I don't like it.
You don't, well, I almost didn't recognize you when you joined the call.
Almost got kicked immediately.
Yeah, I was like, it's kind of haunting. Like, I remember scrolling on Instagram during the off season and I saw Baker Mayfield shaved his beard. Honestly, looked very similar. It was like almost unrecognizable.
Oh, I thought you just said I would look like Baker.
Well, a little bit.
I take that as a compliment. He's my favorite quarterback of all time.
Yeah, and we're getting you this episode out to you guys a little later than we'd like, but Christian's been on the IR this past week. And I didn't even know doesn't even update his best friend on his illnesses.
I didn't know if you wanted to know about my phlegm movements.
But just shows I care.
Yeah, I was been sick for a bit now.
Well,
we still ball though. Ball up top,
and we are back here on Trench Talk with another episode. Going to be going over the trade deadline and a couple games and news from this past week. And because obviously there was nothing else that happened this week worth noting in America, right?
I think the trade deadline was the only big thing that happened on that day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, on Tuesday. And the college football playoff rankings came out too, the first one.
That's true.
I think that's probably what every media that was like the only controversial thing that happened on Tuesday.
Yeah, it was probably what did I think they put Ohio State down to 5?
I didn't even look. I didn't even look at I looked at the full rankings, but I didn't go too much into detail on them. I just saw that Iowa State's at 17, and I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure Georgia's at 2 for just no reason. They were just like, well, it's Georgia. We might as well put them at 2.
I saw a TikTok today that was someone like, I hate Carson Beck. And I was like, dude, I'm glad it's not
just me. I made that TikTok.
Someone was like, he wears too much eye black, and he just has a hateable, punchable face. And I'm like, I agree.
He looks like a ghoul or a vampire. I'm like, buddy, October's over.
Okay, well, we're not just gonna hate on him. Also, I'm not gonna hate on how he looks. I'll also just say I don't think he's that good of a quarterback either.
No, I think people are overhyping him. They're talking about how he's like generational. I've heard some of my friends say like he might be the best football player I've ever seen on a football field. I'm like, he just plays at Georgia. You put him into put him on Charlotte. He's not going to be looking that good.
Like, I'm sure that, like, fully team wise, it's completely different. Like, but Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships, and he was a 5th or 6th round pick. Like,
yeah, it shows they are just like system quarterbacks at Georgia.
Yeah, and it's nice if you are like a great recruit in high school, but like I think honestly you should look at like if you're getting offers from Georgia, you're probably getting offers from other places. If I'm wanting to go to the NFL, I know Georgia, you're winning national championships, but in the NFL, go to Alabama, LSU, and the SEC where you can actually go to the NFL.
Yeah, although at this point, I think Alabama quarterbacks are starting to be strayed away from.
That's true, but and I guess you can't really name we have wide receiver university, tight end U, stuff like that. But your quarterbacks are from everywhere, but not from Georgia, unless you're Matthew Stafford.
That's true.
But moving on to more recent.
Kind of a weird start to the pod.
That's how we like it around here. That's how we like it. But how I don't like it is how my Cowboys handled the trade deadline.
They just picked up a generational receiver talent in Jonathan Mingo.
Oh yeah,
who I did have to look up before this.
Yeah, we were joking before the show. We have one ball knower and one non-ball knower, but I think Christian just if there's something that's not on his radar and doesn't have to be, then he's not going to look at it. I only knew about Jonathan Mingo from podcasts where there's a Panthers fan on it, and I'm looking him up, and I'm like, He was a second-round pick last year. But it doesn't really matter because we gave up a fourth-round pick for him, and now everyone's comparing. I think we gave up Amari Cooper for a fifth round. People traded, or the Chiefs traded for DeAndre Hopkins for, I want to say, a fifth-round pick. So the math is just not adding up right now.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, he was drafted in the second, so it's like the Panthers got a super good return on that.
Exactly. And
Good
he was
ROI.
he was not playing well. I mean, I know it's the Panthers and everything, but like they just weren't using him. And they're like, you could tell they're like basically done with him when they drafted Xavier Legette this year.
Who's actually been producing.
Yeah. Also, I mean, everyone said it at this point, but best accent in the NFL.
Oh yeah, you've heard him say
Asparagus.
yeah, Spurg,
Spurgus.
or
Just that whole
seafood. God, he's a large.
I mean, us as reporters, you just want an interaction like that. Like that, even though their team's fucking what, like 1 in a million? Like, I don't know. No, they're like 2-7. But even
Yeah,
when
they picked up their second win this week.
yeah, we'll talk about that. But like even when you're a rookie on like a terrible team, when he can just like have fun and be like, no, I don't like asparagus.
Yeah, they're in just like the post game locker room after they just got blown out 42-0. He's like, yeah, I'm allergic to seafood.
Allergic. Like, but
It's like, what are we even at? How did the interview get this far off track?
but Jonathan Mingo to the Cowboys. Listen, on the list of things that the Cowboys needed, a wide receiver 2 was pretty close to the bottom of it for me in terms of relevancy. I just don't. This is why another reason why I think we need to. I don't know how it's going to happen because when your GM is also your owner, that's kind of hard to. As I knock my laptop, but it's kind of hard to get a new GM when it's the same as your owner. But Jerry Jones, we need a competent GM who actually knows what to do. We don't need to be. But that was the only move they made. Except they cut a couple people too. That was the only move they made when we should have been sellers at the trade deadline, not buyers, especially with, in more recent news, Dak Prescott going on, I believe he's going on IR. If not, he's at least missing 4 weeks. We're going to have Cooper Rush back there or Trey Lance. So
I actually didn't think about that. I've been hearing all this Cooper Rush talk because he was, 4-1 as a starter when he played.
That was true. But, I mean, that was on a much better coached. That the defense helped him out a lot there, and yeah, he played solid. But like, I mean, that was.
He doesn't have the talents for 4-1. He's like a Jimmy Garoppolo 4-1 player.
Yeah, and like he needs more pieces around him. Like the problems are still the same. We don't have a run game. We don't have run defense. Our secondary doesn't care. Like we don't play like we care. Our defense coordinator is terrible. Our offense is limited because we can only go to CeeDee Lamb and we can't run the ball. I guess we got Jonathan Mingo now, but I don't really know what good that's going to do.
Opens up a whole new passing game option.
I just feel like a broken record at this point, but I mean, we have to mention it because obviously, monumental move by the Cowboys to pick up Jonathan Mingo.
I think that was the missing piece of the puzzle. This is a Super Bowl team now. They picked up Jonathan Mingo.
No, let's move on to actual Super Bowl contenders that, or we can move to another NFC East team that actually made a great move on the trade deadline.
This is another Super Bowl contender. Hold up.
Another. Hey, 3-5 doesn't matter.
Word in. Yeah, Marshawn
Lattimore headed to the Commanders. I mean, I don't have any. If you're a Commanders fan, and me too, just as a football lover, you can't be mad about this. This is a great move.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's, still playing at a high level, and really, they just need to shore up that defense. I mean, the offense has looked incredible, so I mean, you just add that piece in there. I didn't see any issues with them getting to the playoffs. I think early in the season I was expecting them to win the division. But now I'm like, is a deep playoff push possible? I mean, we'll have to see what Jaden Daniels looks like once he gets to the postseason. But I mean, I'm all for like a Lions Commanders NFC Championship.
Now that would be a game. Well, that'd be hard because Baker Mayfield's going to lead the Bucks there.
Gosh, any of those teams, to be
Yeah.
honest.
But it's like as a Cowboys fan, it's almost kind of nice to see the Commanders have at least one good year because for the longest time, if you're a Dallas fan, you're like, okay, well, it's the Commanders. Like, they're not a threat to us. You only really care about the Eagles. Now, it's kind of nice. Commanders, they got new ownership, which seemed to be the problem. They got the right coaching. So, and they're a fun team to watch, too.
Yeah, with their college offense.
That's true. And don't be surprised if maybe not after this year, but maybe after next year, Cliff Kingsbury gets another head coaching job in the NFL with how well he's running that offense.
That's true. I mean, it would be nice for one of these teams that's doing well to just like maintain their pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, if your side of the ball is doing that well, why not give them another shot? Although I
Mm-hmm.
think we kind of saw that with, was it Nathaniel Hackett or?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there's a couple people that have.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Robert Saleh here soon. Excel on their side of the ball, but they can't really coach a team the same
Right.
way.
Right. I guess, yeah, maybe that was an overstatement for me because I do remember when before we hopped on this, I was watching the podcast with Johnny Manziel, and he has Matt Leinart on there. But Johnny Manziel, his offensive coordinator, or I believe offensive coordinator was Cliff Kingsbury. Johnny Manziel wins the Heisman, and then Cliff Kingsbury goes over to Texas Tech. They get great numbers out of Patrick Mahomes, makes him a top 11 pick in the NFL draft. Couldn't win a game for shit, but
Come on. Like there were some games where Patrick Mahomes is throwing like 15 touchdowns and they lose by 12.
That's true. I mean, just look at that Baker game where I think he had to throw the ball 70 times or something like that.
Yeah, didn't he throw for like 600 or 700 yards?
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
And still lost.
Yeah.
But anyways, another corner that is on the move. On the older side, though, so I was kind of surprised by this, was Tre'Davious White to the Ravens, which, I guess so. These are more, we started with the Mingo thing, which is just kind of out of nowhere, doesn't really add that much. But these are actually pieces that help contending teams. And I think this is just another small piece to the Ravens puzzle.
Yeah, I think it just adds depth because, he's not the same player he was, but if they can squeeze out the last little bit of juice from him, my thing with defensive backs is they kind of like hit a peak and they never come back. Like you can't come out of that valley. Like your body just can't handle it. We're seeing that with Stephon Gilmore and the Vikings, who's just.
Although if you saw his game on
terrible,
if you saw his game on Thursday, that was probably his best game on Thursday night as a Viking.
Yeah, it's just. Every other game he's kind of the reason that they let up points on defense. So
yeah, but the Ravens, their defense has been tested a lot recently. Like Lamar's playing out of his mind, Derrick Henry, like that offense has been playing great, but it is that defense that's kind of sold things for them. So while I don't think this moves the needle that much, like it at least helps them out a little. Like it's depth, like you said, it's veteran depth in that room.
Yeah, plus you're gonna add another, I guess, side of knowledge to the room, I guess.
No, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like you're adding someone who, this guy has, had playoff experience. That is still like relatively a young defense that has got, Kyle Hamilton, who's their Marlon Humphreys, guys like that. So, just veteran depth and knowledge. I think that's what they're kind of looking for there. And this is the kind of move that they're not trying to, break the bank on it, but just adding another piece.
Yeah. And that's what you want to see out of teams at this point.
Yeah. And like another one that I have on here, the Steelers add 2 veteran pieces. One of them a little bit less useful, but they do add Preston Smith to that defensive line. I kind of just want to watch Steelers games more often now because of how their defense has been playing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. As a Browns
I
fan,
don't.
as a Browns fan, I don't really like watching the Steelers succeed. Kind of the only reason why. If TJ Watt was on any other team, I'd be in his corner. But at this point, I feel like he's just competing against my best player.
I was gonna say, I think I texted you a little bit ago. I don't remember what game it was, but I was like, "Oh my gosh, TJ Watt," and you're like, "Overrated." I'm like, "Oh, he's just being a hater right now."
Yeah, I mean, they can't make me like you, TJ. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure.
Texans.
I'm pretty sure he like strip sacked someone.
Yeah, he strip sacked Daniel Jones and won the game.
Yeah,
against the Giants.
I
mean, the bigger piece of news, they got Mike Williams.
Yeah, that's the bigger piece.
It's so weird what the Jets are doing. It's like they go out. I mean, they finally get Aaron Rodgers back. They're like, all right, let's go out. Let's go get Mike Williams this season, and then not throw to him. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, oh well, we have a really young receiver in Garrett Wilson. We should use Allen Lazard a lot. Oh, what if we just get Devontae Adams? That's the missing piece.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. And then they're like, you know what? Let's just ship off Mike Williams again. He wasn't working.
Now, they did win a game on Thursday against a good Texans team.
Yep, and they pulled out all the stops.
Yeah, that's a game where you're not going to see C.J. Stroud play like that. I think he was like 13 for 30 or something like that.
Yeah, and you're not going to see Garrett Wilson come down with those catches every week.
Although that was...
Could be up there. That's a top 5 catch of all time.
I mean, him and the Devontae Smith catch, that's probably 2 of the best catches of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they had that Preston Smith getting sent over from the Packers. I think they signed him a couple years ago, and from what I've been hearing, that was more of a cap thing, trading him because he was going to get owed a lot of money. From what I understand, the Steelers have money to spend. Like, I can't really think of anyone off the top of my head other than TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick that they're paying a lot of money to. So,
yeah. So I mean, it is what it is, you know.
Mm-hmm. I think they still play the Browns twice. I don't think they've played them yet. So, good luck with that.
Browns is the Browns, huh?
Browns is the Browns, as Juju Smith-Schuster once said before getting beat in Pittsburgh to Baker Mayfield. But we get that'll wrap up our trade deadline talk. Unless you had any more moves you want to talk about, I think we covered all the big ones. Really,
I think it was really quiet this year. I mean, wasn't anything massive happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, we didn't see Dak Prescott shipped off, but
I mean, I don't know. I can't even remember the last time that we've seen a big like mid-season quarterback trade of something like that magnitude. I don't think that. I mean, and obviously the Dak trade that would never happen. But like, you know what I mean? Like, just anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, maybe if the Devontae Adams thing's happened this week instead of like a few weeks ago, we would have been like, oh my gosh, huge trade deadline. But
the last one I can remember is like the McCaffrey trade. Now, that wasn't really trade deadline, but like that was a huge trade in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
We can move on now to our events section if you want. We had a couple big things happen that just think worth noting. I know every talk show has talked about it at this point, but I have not heard the opinion that I hold about this whole Jason Kelce incident that happened at Penn State. And
what's your opinion on it?
Well, I don't. Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, if you've been living under a rock, it's 5 days old news now, but we're working on having more recent episodes. Don't worry, guys. But so Jason Kelce is there at Penn State, the Penn State-Ohio State game, and he's just walking around, trying to get into the game. Kind of looks like, and this guy is shouting from him. He's obviously a crowd of people following him. This crowd shouts at him that, "How does it feel that your brother is a gay F-slur for dating Taylor Swift?" Which, first of all, the moment I first heard that, I was like, okay, even if you don't like Taylor Swift, that doesn't really make sense, for being honest here.
No,
Probably that was probably the weakest insult I've ever heard.
borderline mid at best.
Yeah, and borderline. Jason turns around and he's like, "Huh?" Takes the kid's phone, smashes on the ground. Which I was like, "Damn!" I was kind of surprised that happened, but warranted. And everyone's saying like could have been much worse, stuff like that. And I mean, if you're the kid, like, I mean, listen, Christian, you and I, we've been drunk before. Would you ever think about doing something like that?
No, I mean, first of all, I like Jason Kelsey quite a
Exactly.
bit. So, but even if I didn't like a player, I mean, bro, that is what is he like 6'2", 6'3", 260 pounds? Like that is a big man, big offensive lineman who's been in the trenches, like fighting for his life for like 12 years. That man probably could rip your throat out with one
Right.
pinky. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? I bet the dude who was even saying that, he sounded like he was probably 120 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah. I mean, Christian and I have been around each other when it's like Christian's like, oh, we got this guy, Napoleon syndrome. I mean, Christian's told me about times where it's like he's been a little bit challenged when we're out on Welch Ave. Got some
Yeah.
good stories I've heard from that. But anyways, and if you see the video even more, when he goes down to pick up his phone, like he pushes Jason Kelsey. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's a guy
He's like,
looking
that's
for a
my.
fight with the wrong person.
He goes, that's my phone, man. I'm like, dude. But anyway, the opinion that I haven't. So and Jason Kelsey goes on Monday Night Football because he's one of the hosts on there and makes a public apology, which you knew he was probably going to do. But my opinion is I don't think he should have to apologize. I know for probably legal reasons, like I know they're investigating him now for stuff like what happened. He should not have to apologize for that. Like, are we that soft now that we have to apologize for sticking up for something that someone said about your brother and his significant other?
Yeah, I'm in the boat where I think that kids these days need to have they need to like experience the consequences of their actions.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been fine if Jason Kelsey just beat that dude up.
Yeah, which could have happened.
Yeah, I mean he's an NFL player. He has the lawyers. He can get out of it. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't go up to random people and say that.
Right.
Why do you think you can just go up to like a giant and say that?
Right.
Somebody who's famous and say that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on.
Right. And, I've also thought more I've thought about this. I'm like, all right, I'm assuming this person is saying this because they're not a fan of Taylor Swift. And if you don't want to be a fan of Taylor Swift's music, that's completely fine. But from what I've heard, this is like that she is, a generous person, like has like, you can say whatever you want about her fan base, her music, whatever. But like, again, like I started the thing with calling his brother the gay Epsler for dating probably one of the most powerful, wealthiest women in the world right now. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, plus you just don't go after somebody's family. That's another
Yeah.
thing. It's like you could call him that.
Yeah.
He probably would be way less mad than if you just go after his little brother.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And the more that I thought about it, I'm like, all right, maybe I'm not going around smashing people's phones, but like that's just like you stick up for people that you care about. And I think we don't need to get to a point where it's like, he should feel bad for what he did.
no, I don't think he should apologize. I think he was in the right.
Yeah, he did, of course. I mean, he works for ESPN, which is a major company, so of course he has to go. And he said it in like the best way he could. He's like, I responded to hate with hate or something like that. And I'm like, all right, I get where you're coming from, but I'm just telling you, Jason, you don't have to apologize for that.
No.
Now, something that someone should apologize for is a situation I had to bring to your attention. Again, another off the field incident with Jermaine Burton with the Cincinnati Bengals. So I had to explain this to Christian, but this is a wide receiver who from what I've heard, skipped out on either skipped out or was late to walk through on Saturday before the Raiders game and was a healthy scratch sitting on the sideline during the game. And there videos and pictures resurfaced of him that same day in that same like hoodie and everything attire that he had on the sideline in the casino alone in Cincinnati. I mean, and this is a rookie wide receiver out of Alabama, a really talented receiver from what I understand. I mean, what are we doing here?
You can't blame a guy for putting the work into his passion. On and off the field, you know. Maybe he's a really good gambler. No, this is, I mean, for me, I guess I didn't really care because he is a rookie and he hasn't really done anything. So it's like, there's kids like this that crash out all the time. And I mean, you can say what you want from their college film. Once you're in the NFL, that's the only thing that matters. So, I mean, if this was like a veteran doing something, I mean, this is a childish thing to do. So I guess it probably wouldn't happen to a veteran. But yeah, this is something that's like, this guy's not going to have a long NFL career. There's already personality issues.
Yeah, now if he keeps doing stuff like that, and we saw something or we heard about something similar a little bit. I mean, I heard from the Dallas media that Ezekiel Elliott this past week had been late to a lot of meetings, and the straw finally broke the camel's back, and he was a healthy scratch. He didn't even travel with the team to Atlanta for Sunday's game. And then Jerry Jones talks to the media afterwards, and I'm listening to this old fart just talk to the media, probably talk out of his ass. And he's like, Ezekiel Elliott, he's always been, very respectful, one of the best football players I've been around, respectful man, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well, you're not really giving any insight on like what specifically happened. And, trying to, but you know what? I mean, Zeke probably did that because he knows he's not getting the ball more than 8 times, probably because he can't run it anymore. But like we see this stuff happen, and it's just like, it's almost kind of a reminder that the NFL, like these are like real people, and they like have the decision to just be like, nah, I'm not doing this. But like, there's like obviously stakes at hand when it comes to doing that.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, it's just laziness to me. It's the reason that Jermarcus Russell's like the biggest bust of all time. You just, you're in the NFL. Like, this is like a lot of kids' dreams. This should be their dream as a football player.
Yeah,
and yet like, they treat it like it's like it should just be given to them.
Right.
No, like there's a lot of players that are working 10 times harder than they could ever even think of.
And they can't even sniff like a practice squad spot because there's only like, what is it? So there's 53 men on an active roster, times that by 32. There's only a certain amount of people that can play in the NFL every Sunday. So I guess maybe it's just some people that take advantage of it a little bit. And this is more on Jermaine Burton. On Ezekiel Elliott, listen, he brought a lot of good years to the Cowboys, but if they cut him right now, I'd be like, okay, well, sorry. Like, yeah, sorry, buddy.
I don't feel bad if it's their fault that they get cut.
Oh, no. I guess we can move into some NFL action. That's our news segment. I don't know, CNL law or something like that. We could call that section. Christian and Logan law. A lot of legal stuff going on in that section. But
that's true. We got a lot
of games we can get to. Sorry to mention it, but your Browns coming back down to earth with Jameis Winston.
Jeez, I don't even see that on the sheet.
No, but I mean, we gotta bring it up. I did see a video today or earlier today that was like, this is one of those performances that reminds people how good Justin Herbert is, too.
Oh, yeah. Forgot they were playing against the Chargers.
Yeah.
I was more so just like, it's Jameis just being Jameis. I'm actually fine losing like this as opposed to losing with Watson. At least Jameis was trying to move the ball.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he throws some picks. He does some questionable things. But, I mean, it looks fun out there.
Jameis, 26 for 46. 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Still trying to get Nick Chubb acclimated again. He has 15 carries for 39 yards. I mean, I can't blame Nick Chubb. One, because he's a great person, so I can't really hate on him. But like, this is a guy who probably hasn't played contact football in what, 8 to 10 months.
Yeah, like a year.
Yeah.
And along with that, the offensive line is in shambles, so there's not really the holes that he's used to having. I like Nick Chubb. I think he's a really great running back. But he's able to rip off a lot of big runs because we tend to have like a top offensive line. And right now there's third stringers out there.
Right. I didn't even know this, but both quarterbacks got sacked 6 times today. Or not today, on Sunday.
Yeah, and how many did I know Myles Garrett had at least one.
He had 3.
There you go.
The others, 1.5 from Dalvin Tomlinson, 1 from Devin Bush, haven't heard his name in a while, and half a sack from Shelby Harris.
So. Yeah. So, it was Jameis kind of running into a couple sacks, but yeah, the defense looked decent, but still some issues with the secondary.
Yeah. I think so. They are, as everyone's been talking about, they are one of, I want to say it's 7 teams who have 2 wins in the NFL right now. Let me count them here: Dolphins, Patriots, Browns, Titans, Jags, Raiders, Giants, Panthers, Saints. So one of 9 teams in the NFL with 2 wins.
Or a couple off there.
I was okay. Give me some slack, all right? We're both. Listen. That's the sad thing is my team is one win away, or 1 loss away from joining that category. There'd be 10 teams in the NFL with 2 wins through 9 weeks. Now that's sad.
Yeah, and it's not even like there's a lot of teams with a lot of wins. It's
right. Like the NFC West is like completely like that's anyone's division at this point.
Yeah, everybody's either 5-4 or 4-5.
Mm-hmm. And even the team that was in the Super Bowl last year doesn't look great. Although that is something we should have talked about in our news section, that Christian McCaffrey is coming back to practice this week, right?
Yes, he's been limited so far this week. They're kind of seeing if he's able to have the reps, and I think that Shanahan said that he's thinking about limiting his reps anyways on the field going forward and not bringing him back to the same usage that they've been having him.
Well, we got to see what kind of voodoo magic trick they did over there. And did he go to Germany? Or was it, where did he go? Where did he fly across the pond to?
Somewhere in Europe.
Yeah. So I should ask Grace. She would know where it's at. She'd been everywhere around there last semester.
Apparently they heal Achilles tendonitis over there.
Feels like Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Back to football.
Moving on.
Yeah.
You want to talk about these 2-win teams?
I guess so. Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to say is that I have on this docket 2-win teams most likely to surprise us by the end of the year. Now, I rattled them all off, but what do you think? Give me your thoughts. What you give me 1, maybe even give me 2 that might surprise us. I'm not saying like make the playoffs, but maybe we finish with. So we're at week 10 now. So we have, that is 9 more games left, correct? No, 8 more games left.
Yeah, depending on.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But
how many you've played so far?
Just give me, what do you think?
For me, I think the Dolphins are probably.
Okay, that's a pretty obvious one.
Yeah, they're a team that shouldn't be 2-win team. They have only played 8 games, so there's a chance. They could get to 11 wins. They're just going to win out.
Oh, whoa.
But, they compete really well against the Bills now that they have Tua back. And then, I mean, judging off that game, I think that they can pick up quite a few wins going forward.
Okay. I'll agree with you on that. And the sad thing about all these is we have a lot of just wonky quarterback situations. And I mean, this really just shows you how important a quarterback is to the NFL. I mean, the Browns, 2-7, they're playing with Jameis Winston. The Titans, Will Levis is down, and they have Mason Rudolph. So that's kind of both net negatives there. Jacksonville, we just learned Trevor Lawrence isn't going to start this week. It's going to be Mac Jones. Raiders, they have two quarterbacks, which means you have no quarterback. The Giants, Daniel Jones. We'll get to that. The Panthers have been circling between Bryce Young and Andy Dalton. Bryce Young got the start this week because Andy Dalton was in a car accident. I mean, which, hopefully hit with his family. So hopefully they're doing all right. The Saints, they fired their head coach. They have Derek Carr, who's fine, but he was also injured.
And he's throwing hospital balls every time he's on the field.
I mean, now we're going through discussions if Chris Olave is even going to play anymore or not, because this is like his fifth, like pretty serious injury to the head. So, I mean, the quarterback situation, anyone that tries to downplay it, just show them these standings.
Yeah, although I don't know if it's specifically a quarterback issue. There's serious problems wrong with just a lot of these franchises. I mean, Raiders are still trying to figure out what they're doing with everything. I mean, you look at the Patriots, they're still – I mean, I think that Drake May is actually a good quarterback, but even if he is playing well, I mean, he had like a concussion was it a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm. And he had to come out of the game. I don't think he missed a game though after that.
No, he led a game-winning drive just to lose in overtime by throwing a pick.
So you're going with the Dolphins though.
Yeah.
2-7 right now, or 2-6 right now, excuse me. Who do they got coming up? Rams on Monday Night Football. Host the Raiders. Host the Patriots. Then they go to Lambeau. Then they host the Jets. Then they have to play the Texans. Then they host the Dolphins. Then they play the Browns. What I meant the Niners, excuse me. They host the Niners. And then they go on the road to play the Browns, and then they go on the road against the Jets to end the year. So a lot of very winnable games. No, they've already played the Bills twice now.
Yeah, so
lost both of them though. So
Bills are a good team.
True.
Yeah, there's a chance that they make the playoffs still, even sitting at 2-6.
Yeah, they're very lucky that they're in the AFC East and that they get to play the Jets and the Patriots. So, two more times, right?
No, they play the Patriots.
One more time for the Patriots. But, all right, you'll go with that. Listen, I'm going to get a little sneaky here, all right? Give me the Giants to finish with over 7 wins, over 6.5 wins. So they play the Panthers in Germany this week.
Oof.
Then they host
Sorry,
the Bucs.
Germany.
Yeah. Well, you know who's going to be at that halftime show?
Nope.
MGK. Halftime show.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
That's why you know this game.
And I'll probably wake up to watch Sunday morning football. It starts at 8:30 our time. So, and then they
I'm not
host.
waking up for that. Sorry, NFL.
Well, you actually get to enjoy your Saturdays with some brewskis. So, I will not be doing that. Anyway, they host the Buccaneers. Then they play the Cowboys on the road. Which, how we're looking, I think the Giants are actually the Cowboys haven't won at home yet, so who knows? Cooper Rush probably going to be the quarterback then. Then they play the Saints at home. Then they play the Ravens at home. Then they have to play the Falcons. Then they play the Colts and the Eagles. I think there's 4, maybe even 5 games they can steal there. And I like Daniel Jones hasn't been playing terrible. The defense has been fine, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
They've allowed 202 points in 9 games. So that's a little bit more than 20 points a game.
which isn't great.
No, it's not great, but it's not terrible.
And they've struggled to score multiple occasions. I mean,
I just have to. I feel like I have to choose them because it's like Raiders. Do I see them pulling anything out? No, not really. Jags, maybe. Titans, probably not. Browns, definitely not. Sorry, buddy. Panthers, probably not. Saints, probably not. So,
yeah, I mean, these 2-win teams are 2 wins for a reason.
it's quarterbacks. It is quarterbacks.
Yeah, and you talk about that Saints Panthers
Whatever that was.
debacle at the bottom of the battle for the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh. I mean, you brought up Chris Olave. I don't know if you saw that hit like live.
I did not lie. I did not see it live. Saw it on.
I was watching that and I thought he died on the field.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty scary.
Yeah. Game speed, when it happened, you see a hospital ball go up and he just, I mean, he went worse than Antonio Brown's hit.
He went right to the hospital, right?
Yeah, it was a literal hospital ball.
Mm-hmm. And then that's a loss that'll get you fired. And for Dennis Allen, that is what happened. So right now, in terms of head coaching positions, Jets and Saints will both be looking for new head coaches going into next year when the season's over.
I will be applying.
Yeah, what does it take to what does it take to apply for, like, is it like a LinkedIn thing? Like, how do you apply for these jobs? Do you call the coach? I would assume.
Yeah, you probably have to have some coaching experience
and probably an agent.
Yeah.
But
you probably have to either be an NFL coach of some sort or a head coach in college.
Now, but what if I showed them my LinkedIn profile with my 3 years of journalism experience?
And they'd be like, how many years have you played on a football field?
I was like, well, I played in AJF in middle school, so it's Ankeny Junior Football. Then once it hit 8th grade and they're like, oh, you're still 5'6", 105 pounds. Yeah, you probably shouldn't be playing football.
Yeah, you'd get like guys like me who were like 6'1" or 210, blitzing the C gap.
Yep, put them on the line.
You see me hit stick that 120-pound kid? He's still down.
Yeah.
No, okay.
5-star 8th grade recruit.
Yeah, you'd have Michael Thomas in the Twitter mentions being like, why are they putting him on the field?
That was completely random, by the way. Michael Thomas just heading on Twitter and hating on Derek Carr. And, of course,
I saw those like when he was tweeting them, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. Well, I was like, is he mad at the organization? Because he's not on the team anymore, right? Like, he was cut.
He's on his couch. He was watching that game on his couch.
Yeah. And, of course, I'm like, oh, he's hating on Derek Carr? I'm like, I guess, like, listen, I'm not the biggest Derek Carr fan, but I'm not going to say, like, you should hate on the guy. Like, he's been a fine quarterback his whole career.
Yeah, I think the only thing is his accuracy and where he leads his receivers are a bit off. He does tend to throw hospital balls. You know, Michael Thomas was right in a sense of like, yeah, he does. Derek Carr panics a good amount in the pocket. He'll throw up some bad passes here and there that, you know, if you're a receiver, you're like, well, I kind of have to go for that or else it's going to get intercepted.
Right.
But there's a 50-50 chance you go for that and your head gets squashed.
Mm-hmm. Or it's going to look bad on film if you just don't go for a ball type stuff. But
I feel like receivers at this point who play with him just need to like leave some of those balls alone and be like, nope, there's a defensive back barreling down at me at 25 miles an hour. I'm not going to catch that ball. That's just floated right into him.
Yeah, I've got Marlon Humphreys breathing down my neck right now. If I catch that ball, my head is going through the turf. So, we're not doing that. And the media asked him about it, and he basically just gave like I've had people that don't like me. I get that, but that's pretty much what he said. He's like, yeah, I mean, and not everyone likes me, and I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, I'm paraphrasing very hard, but he
Yeah.
was not clapping back. And knowing Derek Carr, and the way he acts with the media, I wouldn't expect him to clap back like that.
No, and I think Michael Thomas kind of went a little overboard. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what he tweeted out like 7 or 8
Yeah.
tweets about him. I mean, like, buddy, you are not even on the field anymore.
Yeah. Your tweets aren't going to do anything, and two, that just shows like you want to give out one tweet, people talk about it a little bit, maybe make it a little cryptic so people talk about it a little bit more, maybe. But he did put out like 5, 6, 7 tweets, and I'm like, okay, like I obviously see that you have nothing better to do on an NFL Sunday.
Yeah, I'm like, well, here's probably the reason that you're on the couch.
Yeah. You're watching a Panthers Saints game.
You're getting heated enough where you're putting it out to the public. I mean, it was just like incoherent rambling at one
I
point.
know. That's why I was so confused. I was like, what is he even talking about? I'm like, is he
Yeah,
like Antonio Brown with CT ESPN?
probably. He's been playing with Derek Carr too much.
That's true. But um but yeah. Saints in shambles, losing to the Panthers. Bryce Young, it was kind of nice to see him get that win though. That was his first victory for his first kneel down in the NFL to win a game.
Yeah,
So
that's probably what he does best. Just got to get him into that situation.
something that one of these guys in the NFL does best, making moves in the run game. Saquon Barkley, I put on the docket, makes the move of the play of the century in his backwards hurdle. Christian did not agree with me though.
I think it's cool. I just have people sending me it left and right, go like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen on a football field." I'm like, oh my gosh, like kids these days, we're just so used to watching running backs just run straight forward, I guess. But like, you ever watch Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, O.J. Simpson film?
Okay,
Rest in peace.
Calm down with that last one.
Yeah, he rushed for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season. Just kidding.
Now you're throwing out all these names, but have you ever seen anyone do that? Yes or no? Have you ever seen anyone do that?
No, because I mean, what is the point to you hurdle him backwards?
To make it look cool. To make it, it's cool. That's why. What's the point of football?
But you can't continue the run after that.
He did for a little bit.
No, he got tackled instantly. It was like a 13-yard rush. If he had brought that to the house, I'd been like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. But it's like, to me, it's like, cool, it's a backwards hurdle. Like that's never been done before, but also, I mean, you didn't really do anything with it.
You're like the rest of the media. You're just downplaying this amazing one of one play.
One of one. I mean, there's a reason it's one of one. Why would you need? I mean, nothing else happened after that.
Because it's cool. All right.
This is football. Henry dribble a guy on the ground and then barrel through 3 more people towards the end zone. I've seen Barry Sanders bounce off like 16 receiver or defenders on one run and get turned around and crawl on the ground. I've seen people barrel roll over other players and keep going to the end zone. I'm like, but the issue is that Saquon didn't get to the end zone. So like, to me, it's like, it's a cool play, but it's not like it's earth shattering to me like people are trying to make it out to be.
You're just so old. You're just hating too much.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen better hurdles, to be honest. Just because it's backwards doesn't really mean it's the best play of all time.
Moving on. We're not going to see, this is something that people should take note of. We're not going to see eye to eye on this. So we'll just move on.
Yeah. I mean, they can't make me like you, Saquon.
What do you want to talk about now? We got a couple more topics here before we get off. What do you want to hit next?
We can talk about a guy who's played, consistently look better than that backwards hurdle, Patrick Mahomes.
Now he's probably had the best 2-game stretch of the season so far for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now he throws that pick against the Raiders, but outside of that, I mean that was a terrible pick. But outside of that, 3 touchdowns this week against the Bucks, and they needed every one of them. Baker and the Bucks brought their best game to Arrowhead, and Todd Bowles, you got to go for 2, man.
Yeah, that's what we were wondering. Is you have the Chiefs on the rope, and you don't try to win the game. Like, you can't beat them on overtime. You give the Chiefs, you pretty much said, okay, instead of whatever percentage chance a 2-point conversion would be, I'd rather take a 50-50. Because you lose that coin flip, you lose the game, which is what happened.
Yep. And that defense, like, yeah, had some, like, the Bucks just went down and, like, had their drive, so the Bucks defense had some time on the sideline, but, like, the Chiefs had been, like, moving the ball pretty consistently that whole game.
Yeah.
Like, they got Travis Kelce going early. Kareem Hunt looked fine. DeAndre Hopkins exploded. 2 touchdowns. I mean,
so all he needed was a quarterback.
Yeah. So.
But, I mean, what, 14 catches from Kelce?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that was the Chiefs that we've expected for a while. I think is this their 3-peat year? I mean, they're still undefeated now after that game.
I know, and I put in the docket, are they just lucky or are they just really that good? I think, like, honestly, so what? They're probably like 2 or 3. It's crazy to think they're probably 2 or 3 games away from clinching a playoff spot already.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, most of their games have been close. So I guess, yeah, if luck had gone a different way, if maybe a pass interference here and there, a toe in bounds, I mean, there's quite a few chances they could have.
Todd Bowles goes for 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that they don't win any games this year, but also maybe that just shows that's a huge if, You'd be saying, oh, maybe if they didn't get the pass interference call here, well, maybe if on the next play Patrick Mahomes just decided to throw a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if earlier in the game one of the running backs had ripped off a big run.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if a holding call had gone their way. Like,
it's just how the games play out, is what you're saying, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just say, oh, one thing. If one thing had changed, then this team would have won. No, there's no way of telling that.
And something I've always heard, and I think it's, like, very true with the Chiefs. You saw this with, like, the Chiefs, their dynasty they have going on right now, and the Patriots. It's the best teams late in the game that win games. And that's what the Chiefs have been this whole year. Like, yeah, you can, you can knock on Todd Bowles for not going for 2 on that play or on that drive. But also look at the Chiefs, who just stomped down the field to score a touchdown. Like, it could have been very easy for, they were like you said, they were on the ropes the whole night pretty much. Like Baker, they were going back and forth. But when you have guys like Patrick Mahomes, DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt, they put the ball in their hands, they're going to get the job done. And they're consistently proving that this year. Even with injuries to Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, like, it doesn't matter. Juju. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, they look like the best team. I mean,
whoa.
Maybe that brings up a conversation.
The Ravens and the Lions have some stuff to say right now.
Yeah, but the Ravens weren't able to beat the Chiefs.
Okay. It's true. And, but they have the top 2 MVP candidates right now, I would say.
Yep. And yet, it really comes down to the playoffs, because this was the same thing as last year. Besides the 49ers, but none of those 3 teams were able to beat the Chiefs.
I've told someone at work the other day, I'm really just excited for these playoffs because I want to see Chiefs against the Bills again and Chiefs against the Ravens again.
Yeah, although this just seems like a yearly tradition at this point.
Now, would you be mad if the Chiefs three-peated?
No, I'm actually fine with that.
Me too. I like Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if I've said this on this podcast before, but I've definitely told it to people. Like the older I've gotten, like I've put my hater aside from just like, oh, they're so good. Like, I used to be someone that was like, oh, I don't like Steph Curry because he's so good, or I don't like Tom Brady because he's so good. But when you get older, you kind of just got to realize like you're witnessing greatness. Like, honestly, did the Cowboys not win the Super Bowl this year? Oh, boo hoo. It's been like that since what, 1996 or whatever, 95. At some point, you just have to sit back and appreciate like history that you're watching and like some of the best players ever.
Yeah, plus it's good. It's nice seeing a talented player win a lot of Super Bowls
As opposed to,
a system quarterback.
oh, like Tom Brady.
Yep, but we'll get into that discussion maybe.
But yeah, I brought up the Lions and the Ravens. Lions get a big win at Lambeau. A kind of a slippery win there, even without what's it? Is it what's his name? Branch or that I put
Brian
on the doc?
Branch.
Brian Branch that got ejected for his hit on a Packers tight end. I want to say he's been kind of a dirty player since he's gotten into the league, or at least recently. So maybe this is just the NFL being like, here's your discipline, but it was a little bit of a dirty hit.
Yeah, I don't really have a ton of thoughts about the Lions winning at this point. I think that they've proven that they're like the best team right now in the regular season. So
I think it's just kind of how they're taking over the NFC North when they were showing. I mean, I watched that whole game. They were showing stats before. It's like in the last, before this kind of stretch that they've been going on, they were like, they had lost so many games at Lambeau. Like they could not win at Lambeau. Yeah. And they've won I think it was 3 of the last 4 matchups or something like that.
Well, I mean, before they got Dan Campbell, they were a poverty franchise.
Yeah. So.
And the Packers have kind of rolled through that division for 20 plus years.
Yep, and they're hot. I mean, they're on one of the hottest streaks in the NFL right now. It seems like offensively they can do whatever they want, and they've dealt well with losing Aiden Hutchinson too.
Yeah, and I was surprised they didn't go out and pick up anybody huge during the trade deadline. But I mean, you're winning games the way you're winning them. It doesn't really seem like you need anything, right?
I want to see who they have next, real quick. But I mean, and they've just been fun to watch. I got a couple friends that are not Cowboys fans. I have no friends that are Cowboys fans, but except for my father, of course. But I have a couple friends that are Lions fans. So it's been good to see them actually enjoy watching football now and not dread it because they're Lions fans. They play the Texans on Sunday Night Football. I think that'll be a really good game. Really good game.
Yeah.
And then tonight, of course, Bengals, Ravens. Last section I want to talk about here, the Ravens. I mean, I know they're 6-3 right now, but I think they're just balling, flat out they're balling.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar puts up another MVP performance every single week, it seems. I mean,
two interceptions through 9 weeks.
Yeah, perfect passer rating this last week. Correct.
Yep.
So
the 4th time in his career.
I think he's trying to prove everybody wrong that, last year he didn't deserve the MVP, but if he was doing this last year, he would have been my number 1 vote for MVP.
Winners of 4 of their last 5, that one loss coming to the Browns on that wonky Jameis Winston miracle game.
Okay, not a miracle.
Just being well.
So we expect from Jameis. Come on.
But this last matchup between the Bengals was 41-38 overtime. I actually forgot about that, how close this game was. So it's in Baltimore. The Ravens are donning their new all-purple uniforms, so that'll be interesting to see. It's kind of sad that I have to work tonight, so I'm going to miss this game for the most part. But, they have the MVP front runner, and the Ravens also have probably the Offensive Player of the Year front runner.
Yeah, and Joe Burrow's coming off a 5 touchdown game.
That's
So
true. Well, technically 6 if you want to count the pick 6.
yeah, I'll count it.
6 touchdowns in a game. That's crazy.
Yeah. Who else has done that? Throw for 5 touchdowns and a touchdown to the other
That's
team?
a good. That's an interesting stat. That's a good stat.
Mike Gesicki with 2 touchdowns.
Yep. But yeah, I mean the Ravens. I mean like I said, we just got to appreciate greatness. And I think yeah, the Ravens started out that people were scared about them, right? Because they started off 1-2.
I think 0-2.
0-2, yeah, because they lost to the Raiders. But then ever since then, 6-1 the rest of the way. Like, gosh,
Yeah,
I mean,
they're making the playoffs. It's
yeah,
at this point we're like kind of expecting them to get to the Super Bowl. That's if they don't. I mean, that's every season that Lamar's doing well. It's like you have to make it to the Super Bowl, or else this is a failure of a season.
right.
Sorry, playoffs aren't really cutting it at this point. You have a Hall of Fame. I think I can say that at this point, a Hall of Fame quarterback. So
Yeah. I mean,
your floor is the playoffs.
I'm excited for their matchups with the Steelers, who are also 6-2. Because I was gonna say, like, we pretty much have the AFC division winners, like, pretty much wrapped up. Like the Chiefs are gonna win the West. Like, even though Houston's kind of taken a dip here over these last couple weeks, they're gonna win the South. The East, Buffalo is gonna win the East easily, but the North, it could be a tough battle between the Ravens and the Steelers. I'm excited for when they play here in these next couple weeks. Next week, right? Yep, week 11. Week 11, Ravens at Pittsburgh. So
yeah, they got 2 more times going head to head.
I
think I don't really see the Steelers taking the division. I think
probably not.
Bengals and Ravens both look better,
but they'll get that first.
They're just kind of the Steelers, to be honest.
But they'll get that first wild card spot. And then the other one will probably go to either the Chargers or, probably the Chargers. Because, I mean, while we were talking about the Dolphins, making a little run here, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, that'd be insane if they did.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the Bengals will still make it as well.
That'd be tough. Do you want to make that? Do you want to make that claim now? Over the Chargers.
Why not both?
Well, because there's 3 wild card spots. That's right. Never mind.
Yeah.
So the
Broncos are 5-4.
Okay, so it's heating up a little bit here now. I mean, they're 5-4. They can maybe make a push. It's heating up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of game left.
Now, if I want to say who I'd want to see in the playoffs right now, it would be Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Texans, and then Steelers, Bengals, and then Chargers. I'd probably leave the Broncos out of there. I would just want to see the most competitive playoffs, not just the Broncos sneak their way in.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Chargers have never been competitive in the playoffs.
That's true. Last time they were there, that's when they had like the comeback of the century against them with the Jags. So, we will see, though.
Anyways, yeah.
I think that's all we got here for this week on Trench Talk. Like I said, texted Christian earlier, we might try and do like a Sunday night reaction stuff, or maybe just more Mondays. I think our problem is I always just be like, oh, yeah, we have a podcast to do. Do you want to do it here? And we feel rushed. Got a little bit of things going on later. Like, we're recording this on a Thursday. We got another game coming up. Week 11 starts Week 10 starts today. So,
yeah.
But we had to get this out for you guys, even if Christian's a little bit under the weather. That was perfect time. That is, as Shador would say, perfect timing.
Only on my wrist.
Perfect timing.
Okay.
We will see you guys next week. Thanks again for joining us on Trench Talk. See you next time.